Angel Island is part of the ancestral lands of the Coast Miwok Indians. The land was ceded by Mexico to the U.S. in 1848 and shortly thereafter became a military base. In 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed. This marked the first time in our nation's history that a specific group was barred from immigrating to the U.S. But this act was just the beginning. In the decades that followed, several other immigration laws were enacted. And collectively, these laws prohibited immigration from most countries in Asia and the Pacific. The former U.S. immigration station at Angel Island was built in 1910 to enforce these immigration policies. Upon arriving at Angel Island, passengers deposited their luggage in the baggage shed and walked across the pier to the administration building for registration and assignment to their quarters. From then on, racial and gender segregation policies were strictly enforced to keep whites and Asians, Chinese and Japanese, and men and women separate from each other. Like on Ellis Island, all newcomers were subjected to a line inspection and eye exam to detect the presence of contagious diseases and medical defects. But it was mostly Asians that were subjected to the indignity of blood and stool examinations to determine whether there were parasitic diseases such as hookworms, liver flukes, or threadworms that could bar them from immigration. Race, nationality, class, and gender often determined the length of an immigrant's stay on Angel Island, which could last from 2 days to 2 years. Europeans tended to remain briefly. They enjoyed better accommodations and better food than their Asian counterparts. Chinese and other Asian immigrants, however, were crowded into barracks that even immigration inspectors deemed unsafe and unsanitary. They fed them lower quality food that the detainees described as pig slop and could have no visitors from the mainland. Immigration files show that European applicants were briefly interrogated and generally admitted into the U.S. within a day or two. But Asian applicants, particularly Chinese, faced a board of special inquiry, which was a much longer and much more grueling process that could last for weeks or even months. Based on available records, we know that Chinese, Japanese, Korean, South Asian, and Russian immigrants were the largest groups who came through Angel Island. But it's also important to recognize that immigrants from over 80 nations were processed, detained, or quarantined during the 30 years the U.S. immigration station at Angel Island was in operation. There were numerous complaints from the community and from public officials regarding the safety of the immigration station. These complaints were proven true when the administration building burned down to the ground in August 1940. This ended the site's use as an immigration station, though the site would continue to be used to detain POWs and to temporarily process Japanese Americans during World War II. After World War II, the site fell into disarray. Time and the elements took their toll on the abandoned buildings. The buildings were slated for demolition in the early 1970s, but fortunately, California Park Ranger Alexander Weiss took a group of local professors and community leaders inside the barracks to see the poems that had been carved into its walls by Chinese detainees. This led to the formation of the Angel Island Immigration Station Historical Advisory Committee, which would later become the Angel Island Immigration Station Foundation. Over the past 40 years, the foundation has raised over $30 million to preserve and restore the buildings on the site. We've reached thousands of people through our educational programs, both on the island, in the Bay Area, and more recently through our online programs and virtual exhibitions. With the opening of the Angel Island Immigration Museum this year, we are headed into another exciting chapter for the site and for the foundation.